In this episode, I have a unit that was sent in from a client in California that sent me his Handycam. It's a Sony Digital 8 that he wants to try and get going because he's got some tapes that he wants to transfer and it's not working at all. Of course, shops have all shut down, so I said, hey, well, send it to me and we'll take a look and see if I can make this one work. So, let's take this one apart and see what's wrong with it. Today I have a Handycam DCR TRV130. This was sent in by a viewer to have a look at, and he says it doesn't work, so I guess the first thing to try is to see if it'll play a tape. I have both analog and digital 8 recordings on this tape. We'll see whether it does anything to start. Display. I see nothing. No picture. So the first thing we'll try is to see whether the heads are contaminated on this. Now, being 8mm and digital video, they use a metal tape. And really the only way to clean these things is with a cleaning tape. A dry cleaning tape. It's the only real way to do it, because the metal particles that contaminate the heads, basically, if it's a head that's contaminated, they basically need to be filed off, for lack of better words. They have to be ground off with a cleaning tape. So we'll put it into play here for 10 seconds or so, and we'll stop it. And then we'll try a tape again. Now, you don't want to use these more than about 4 times in a row. If the heads are really clogged, sometimes you have to do it a couple times. But if it doesn't come clean after a few passes, then you have to look at other faults. So I still see nothing. We'll try another pass of this for another 10 seconds or so. And then if that's not the case, I'll be opening this thing up to see if there's anything obvious that's wrong with it. I'm going to let this roll in real time here so you can see how long it took me to actually fix the problem on this camera. It didn't take that long, but then I've done hundreds of these things, so I kind of already have an idea of what I'm going to look at first. And again, it was a relatively simple problem on this one. Okay, I see no attempt to play, so I guess now it's time to open up the camera and see whether there's anything that's obvious that's wrong with it. So first we'll start by removing the tape door. Mechanically, everything looks okay. Next, we'll remove the side cover. Geez, it's been a long time since I've opened up one of these things. I almost forgot how to do it. just judging from the number of screws that were missing from the cabinet, I have to think that somebody has been into this unit and didn't know how to fix it, so they just kind of stuck it together and gave it back and left out half the screws, because you can see there's a bunch of them that are missing. But I'll put new ones in when I put it together. When it comes to camcorders, you have to hope it's going to be something that's relatively minor that's gone wrong, because there are no parts available for these units anymore. The only chance you have of getting any parts is finding parts to salvage off of another used one. The problem with that is these are all so old now that you know, the chances of finding a good one or one with good parts are becoming scarce. So now is panic time for people that have these old camcorders with treasured memories on tape that they're trying to preserve, because of course they don't make these cameras anymore. They haven't made tape-based cameras in a number of years, and you know, it's just unfortunate that there's a lot of people that are going to lose their memories on videotape because they fail to transfer them over while the cameras were still working. And that's unfortunate, but that's the sad truth to it, is that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to lose their recordings because of mechanical failures or electrical failures on these old devices that just can't be repaired. And I wish that wasn't the case, but unfortunately that's reality. See, the tape seems to be running true on this. But there's no playback. But the tape appears to be running true. It's moving. I don't see any problems with the transport. I'm hoping it's going to be something simple, like a plug that's come loose. Maybe a plug on the head or something that's come loose. That's what I'm hoping is going to be the outcome. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to unplug connectors so that I'm going to reseat these connectors down here, because those ones are the most likely ones that have failed. It was a known problem on a lot of these camcorders that these connectors would work their way loose, or they'd get oxidation on them. So I'm going to just open them up, and we're going to put some cleaner on them and put them back together. So I'll make it with my old deoxit out. We'll use the D100L in the single drop dispenser. This is the one here that passes the signal from the head. So we'll just do that one. We'll do them all, but sometimes what happens is you get some oxidation on the actual contacts themselves here. And I mean, these capacitors can go bad, but typically when they go bad you have servo problems. This one just isn't playing anything, so we'll try the simple stuff on here. I mean, it could be a problem with the board, right? But if the board's bad, you're not getting parts for them to fix these things. So sometimes just an application of cleaner, and then the actual putting the connector back together and removing it will actually break up any oxidation on here anyway. So sometimes just doing this is all that's necessary. The number of cameras that I fixed when I was in the business by just reseating connectors was amazing. You know, 50%. The other 50% had sand in them, or salt water. But it was quite high, the percentage of units that failed due to, or these ribbon cables sometimes would get damaged because they operate in the mechanism, especially the B mechanism that Sony had there for a while. The B chassis that would come on, go back in there, you damn it. Okay, those ones are reseated. See, the B mechanism, a lot of times just one of the ones down here would break from the mechanism going back and forth. This isn't the B mechanism, but the B chassis. There was a sharp edge to one of the catches. I've done a video on replacing the chassis on a B mechanism. The catch that holds down the compartment would actually rub against one of these ribbon connectors and cut through it, and then the machine would go to a shutdown mode. It wouldn't play. I did one a while back, a video on that problem a while back. Okay, let's just reconnect the power supply and the main connector. Might as well put some deoxide on this one too, it won't hurt. Okay, those ones are back together. I'll put the power connectors and stuff back on, and we'll give this thing a test fly and see whether I've made any progress. What have I missed? I think there's a plug that's still undone here. Or this one's on backwards. It might be this one's on backwards. The one for the power connector. I think there might be a kink in this one. There we go. Okay, listen up here when the tape loads. You're going to hear the drums spin up really fast. This is another connector that's not making a good connection. That one that I was having trouble with on the edge there wasn't going in properly. One of the pins on it got folded over. I definitely have a connection now because I hear the drum spinning up to about 10,000 RPM. So one of my connectors here is not seated properly. Which one is it? Yes, that's the one. And that's also a symptom. Sometimes that's one of the symptoms. You go to turn on the camera and it won't, the tape won't go down, and you'll just hear the drum spin up like crazy on both 8mm high 8 and the digital 8. It's the edge connector that has the FG and PG sensors to provide the feedback to the servo. So I'm going to have to open that one up and reseat it, and that should solve the problem. This one that's not on is just for the viewfinder here, so it's not a big deal. That's a little better. It's just one of the connectors wasn't seated properly. Okay. What am I in? VTR, right? Yes. Play. Okay. What? Play. Where's play? Hey, I'm getting a picture. I want to go into play. There we go. We have a picture finally. So guess what the problem was, folks? Yes, connectors. That's I recorded this years ago on my motorcycle, old motorcycle, I should say. Let's see what happens here when I let it play. I actually have a message on there that I recorded tonight. Where is it starting here? It should start momentarily. There we go. This is in digital 8. And there should be sound on here, but I don't know where the volume is on this. Oh, there's no sound on this. I had just what I had here was I had my camera was strapped around my neck. I was holding the camera, and I had a little CCTV camera. That's why the color's so bad. It was a little CCTV camera that did not have a infrared cut filter on it, so everything's going to look red. But I was playing around. This was shot back in 2005. Driving around. And then here's something I just recorded. In fact, that picture here that you see of this camera, that's actually this camera here that is being played back. There's the sound, you can hear me talking. So the fellow that owns his camera is going to be very happy to know that his camera is now fixed. Unfortunately, he didn't follow instructions when I told him do not ship it by FedEx. And he sent it up from California using FedEx with a declared value of $100. And that automatically triggers taxes. So they're going to take the $100 US, convert it to about $130 Canadian, assess 12% tax to import it into Canada, and then add a brokering charge on top of that, which is going to be passed on to the customer because I'm not paying the taxes on it. And it's going to delay him getting his camera back by a while because unfortunately FedEx doesn't send me the bill right away. it will take probably a month to 2 months before I receive the bill from them. This has happened to me before, and that's why I mean I don't do a lot of mail-in products because for this reason, because I get hit with import duties and taxes on equipment, and sometimes this stuff can't be fixed. In this case, this was repaired, and the guy that owns this is going to be very happy that this camera has been fixed. And now you guys know what to check on these things. You see, all it was just those bloody edge connectors that were bad. They go bad on these and cause problems. It's the #1 failure on these digital 8 cameras. Well, 8mm too. Other than mechanical problems, sometimes you'll have a mechanical problem, but the #1 failure on these units is those connectors. And as I was explaining when I was cleaning them, when I was in the business, 50% of the repairs were caused by those connectors. The other 50% was people getting sand or water into them, and the odd time we'd have, well, the chassis on the B mechanism chassis was problematic, was very problematic. But this one's fixed. I think his keypad here is kind of a little bit, the switches go bad, and they're starting to on this, because when I was pushing play, initially it went into fast forward, and then I pushed it harder. There's back to the stuff that I shot on the camera on my bike. You can see the fender there. That was an old, I'm trying to remember what bike that was. I think that was a Honda I was riding then. That was before I bought the Harley. Bought the Harley in 2007. And this was 2005. This would have been my old Honda. Or maybe this might have been my Yamaha. I had a Honda CX500 and I had a Yamaha Virago at the time. I had 2 bikes. So I don't remember whether this was shot. This might have been shot from the Yamaha. Looking at the fender, might have been the Yamaha that I shot this with. Could have been the Honda. Don't know. One of the two. I had both bikes at the time, so I don't remember what I was tinkering around. I was just doing an experiment. I was trying to see whether this camera would look acceptable, because of course mounting a camcorder like this on a bike would be foolish, because the vibration would just mess with the transport big time, cause the servos and stuff to go out of whack. But so I was just using it as a video camera, and there it is. Anyway, let me put this thing together, and then we'll do a test recording on it. Make sure that it actually records. So I'll just plug that other connector back in for the viewfinder, which is right down here. Tell you need little Japanese hands to work on these things. Make these things so small. Okay, that's done. Let's turn this thing over. I'm going to put the shield back on over the head here. This is the RF shield, just to keep RF interference to a minimum. It just grounds everything out. I think this answers people's questions too. Do I work on stuff? Yes, I do, from time to time. I've had many things sent in to me, but how it works is the person wanting something repaired, they're going to pay the shipping both ways, and they're going to pay any additional charges for brokerage and anything else. So a lot of times the shipping is going to cost more than the unit's worth. So if you've got something that you need to have repaired, just keep that in mind, that it's generally it's reserved for things like this where you're not going to be able to replace it. And not every time we can fix these things. I certainly try, anytime I get one, I certainly try to do it and keep people happy. And of course it drives views to my channel, which is always good. Always good to have more views, because that's how I make money. That's how I make money. I make money off the views. I make money off the advertising. I make money off of the odd person that donates. Thank you for everybody that does, either through PayPal or Patreon. Greatly appreciated, because my costs of operating the channel are actually quite high. Just my bandwidth cost. I'm not on unlimited, so I pay for my bandwidth. So when I upload videos, it generally puts me over my monthly allocation. Yeah, I could get unlimited use. I could get fiber in here too if I wanted. Fiber is running right into my house, but to say I'm cheap, I haven't bothered to upgrade. I'm still on copper because it's a little cheaper than going to fiber, and I don't need the speed. So. That's what happens when you live in one of the most expensive locations in the world to live. And certainly Vancouver is right there on the top of the list. I'm not in Vancouver itself, I'm in the suburbs, but everything here is quite pricey. And when I say pricey, I mean it. Like a builder's lot, a tear down house that's going to be bulldozed to build a new house in my neighborhood will set you back about $1.3 million for nothing. In the city of Vancouver, that'll set you back a couple million or more. It's a very expensive place to live. Hey, camcorder repair is easy when you know what you're doing, right? As I say, you need little tiny hands to work on these things. It's like everything is so short, the cables are just the exact length, and they're kind of a pain in the butt to put them all back together, but they will go together. Another thing you got to watch out with these, and this is what happened when I initially put it into that one connector on the edge that I was having trouble with, the end connector. It actually, the corner folded over, so you got to kind of be careful when you plug these things in that you make sure that the alignment is exactly true, because there is kind of a fold in them from the way they were sitting in there, and if you don't get it in exactly straight when you push it in, you can have one that doesn't connect, and that's what happened on the one at the very end of the connector there on the board, the very last one that I was having trouble when I was putting the connector back on. It was giving me some trouble. That was the one that was causing the motor to spin up at 10,000 RPM. There. That's back together. Now this slides in place. Just like that, and then put the rest of the screws in, and then we'll do a test recording and playback to verify that all the functions are working as they should be working. Okay, camera is back together. Turn it on. We go back and try playback the analog portion that's on there. Stop. Rewind. Because there's some analog stuff on here as well. I want to see if you can play that back. It's me playing around with an old high 8 camera that I was testing years and years ago. It's right out at the very beginning of the tape. So we'll see how it can handle switching over to the analog. Volume. Okay. So there should be a little bit of digital stuff at the beginning here, and then it'll switch to analog, and then it'll go back to digital, and then we'll try making a recording. So there's a little bit of the shot before I started my bike up. That's going to switch over to analog at this point. Should anyway. I wonder if this one has analog playback. Because I didn't see anything in the menu here for... Yeah, I don't think this one has analog playback. Maybe not. Because the analog stuff was recorded right in there. And I didn't... Like I didn't see anything, any setup in here for the analog playback. I'm just curious as to whether they may have dropped that feature. This was a low end. This was the DCR TRV130. I'm just going to look that up and see if that one even had analog playback on it. Well, there's the answer there. You cannot play back tapes recorded in the high 8 system. This was a late model digital 8 camera. The earlier ones all had backwards compatibility. And looks like this one here. It says your camera records and plays back only in the digital 8 system. You cannot play back tapes recorded in the high 8 or regular 8 system. So this particular model is of actually lesser value to a collector because it's kind of restricted on, it can only play back digital 8 tapes. And well, digital 8 was never a real popular format. High 8 and standard 8mm were very popular formats because they were around for a long time. You know, 8mm came out in about 1985, I think. 85, I think. Pretty sure it was 85 when standard 8 hit the market, and it was late 80s or early 90s when high 8 came out. I forget the exact year, but it might have been 89. I think the V5000 was around then, I think. Anyway, yeah, it's all a blur now. But when digital 8 first came out, they all had the ability to play back analog tapes. And they would switch back and forth between digital and analog. They could not record analog, they could only play it back. And that was always a selling strength. When you were selling a camcorder to a customer, sales would say, what camcorder did you have? Oh, you had a high 8, no problem. Here's the digital 8 camera. You can play back your existing recordings, and it allows you to move into the digital mode without scrapping all your tapes, because of course mini DV was also around, which used of course the smaller tapes. But that was always a big selling feature to high 8, was the fact that it could play back, to digital 8, because it could play back analog recordings. But this one here apparently cannot, and we've just proven that it can't, because right here there's an analog recording on this tape. If I go get my other camera, you'll see it play. But when that analog recording ended, it went back to digital. And that was what will come up here. And that's where I ended the analog recording. And now we're back onto the digital recording here. And I recorded this for a bit. And then I made a test recording with my other camera in Digital 8. So we'll make a test recording with this camera in Digital 8. So there it is, and that's better. Light shop is stuck on. Okay, hit record. Okay, I'm now recording my test video on this DCR TRV130, I think I said it was. Yeah, TRV130 that was sent in for repair. And we'll just play this recording back and make sure it plays back. And I'm going to go get my playback cable and we'll put it up on the plasma and see how it looks. Here's a look around the workbench here on the shop. Extreme close-up. Okay, let me go grab my adapter cable and we'll play this back and make sure it plays back on the TV. And the moment of truth. Did I fix it? Well, there's the recordings I shot on the bike. I just rewound the tape. So, I'm just doing a test recording. So that's this camera right here. I recorded this on my other camera. Just for testing. Okay, and now this was the recording made on this camera. My test video on this DCR TRV130, I think I said it was. Yeah, TRV130 that was sent in for repair. And we'll just play this recording back and make sure it plays back. And I'm going to go get my got crappy low resolution pickups on these things. You can see how it looks. Stepping. Here's a look around the workbench here on the shop. Extreme close-up. Okay, let me go grab my adapter cable and we'll play this back and make sure it plays back on the TV. And then that's the old recording that was there. So that's it. The camera is repaired, ready to go back to its owner. So we'll just take out the tape. Turn it off and let the battery charge up a bit. This is my fancy adapter cable that came with the camera, so you can play it back on a regular TV. Of course, it also has S-video out. And the FireWire. Yeah, this one's got FireWire, so you can plug it right into your computer. Copy the data directly off the tape. DCR TRV130. No picture. No playback. Check those buddy connectors, because they are the problem on the majority of these ones when they don't work. Other symptoms of the connectors being bad was like what happened when I first put it together and the drum took off to about 10,000 RPM. That was another real common one. We'd get the camera in and we'd go to load a tape and you hear the drum spin up and the tape would not go down because it's not detecting the drum spinning. Is what happened. So connectors all cleaned. This one here is good for several more years, I would think. There we go. Camera's all repaired, ready to go back to its owner. Again, if you like my channel, best way you can support me is either through Patreon, right there, patreon.com/12voltbids, or you can support my channel through PayPal at paypalme.12voltbids. And that will certainly help the channel out. As I say, we don't make a lot of money off of the views from YouTube these days, just due to the way that things are. They certainly aren't paying what they used to. So every dollar that I can generate on Patreon or through PayPal really helps out a lot. Again, thanks for watching. We'll catch you again in the next one real soon. Bye for now.